Hello friends, welcome to Oceanic Economics. Today we are discussing on the World Bank, which topic playing the important role in the international economic study. In this series, Economicspedia give to you all the important concept of this economics related. We are presenting English language for the English medium student. I hope this series which we made for you, Economicspedia, help to you increase your knowledge more better. So stay tuned with the Oceanic Economics. The World Bank is an international organization dedicated to providing financing, advice, and research to developing nations to aid their the economic advancement. The bank acts as the organization that's the attempt to fight the poverty by the offering the development assistance to the middle and low income countries. World Bank is the provider of the financing and technical assistance to the individual countries around the globe. The bank considered itself the unique financial institution that set up the partnership to reduce poverty and support economic development. The World Bank is the suppliers qualifying the governments with low interest loan, zero interest credits and grants all to support to the development of the individual economics. Debt, borrowing and the cash infusions help to the global education, healthcare, public administration, infrastructure and private sector development. The World Bank also share the information with the various entities through the policy advice, research and analysis and the technical assistant. It's the offer advice and the training for both the public and private sector. World Bank was originally created as the International Bank for the Reconstruction and Development, means IBRD, in 1944. Along with its the twin, the IMF, together they come to the know as the Bretton Woods twin sister. When it was the set up, it was the decide that this the international bank would do assist the economic reconstruction of the World War II damaged European economics. In early 1946, this international bank launched its career as the multilateral development bank, and since the IBRD come to the know as the World Bank. Its headquarters is located in the Washington opposite the IMF building, and it's the list the next door neighbor of the White House. Being twin sister membership in the IMF as a prerequisite for the membership in the World Bank, 188 countries in May 2012. Main the function of this the World Bank is to assist in the construction and development for the territories of these the members by the facilitating investment of the capital for the productive purpose, including the restorations of the economics destroyed or the disrupted by the war, and the encouragement of the development of the providing the facilities and the resources in the less developed countries to promote private investment and the long run balance growth of the international trade and balance of payment equilibrium by the means of the guaranteed of the participation of the international loan and investment to arrange a loan made or guaranteed by its so that the more useful and urgent project receive preference to provide the finance to the project of its own capital fund raised by the its and the participating with the other members. In addition, the bank provide the advice, expertise. It's now the put more the emphasis on the institution, technological assistant and infrastructure assistant. Over the year has been the able to the generate and disseminate policy relevant knowledge. Today it has been the concentrate more and these asset rather than the financial resources. This organization is now called the Knowledge Bank. You should must fact know about the World Bank for the preparation your competition exam. World Bank is the largest knowledge of the developing countries. Also, they are the largest source when it's come to funding. Currently, Ajay Banga is the president of the World Bank. Currently, the membership of the World Bank is given 189 countries under IBRD and 173 countries under IDA. Organizations like the MIGA, IFC, and ICSID manage the World Bank. Also, the World Bank has the headquarters situation located in Washington DC and has the more than 10,000 staff all over the world. So the information of the World Bank was done Bretton Woods Committee that was held in 1944. Alongside the IMF, it was launched in the presence of the many important delegates. Ajay Banga was the selected 14th president of the World Bank Group and began his 5 year term as the World Bank Group president on 2 June 2023. Ajay Banga most recently served as the vice chairman and general Atlantic. The five development institutions under the World Bank Group are: firstly, International Bank for the Reconstruction and Development means IBRD. Second, International Development Association means IDA. Third, International Finance Corporation means IFC. Fourth, Multilateral Guarantees Agency MIGA. And fifth, International Center for the Settlement of Investment Dispute means ICSID. World Bank Group is the specialization agency of United Nations. World Bank Group membership know about to join the World Bank Group, a country must first become a member of IMF. To become a members of the IDA, IFC, and MIGA, two countries must first become the member of the IBRD. Membership of the ICSID is subject to the all following conditions. Firstly, must to IBRD membership. Second, party to status of the International Court of Justice means ICJ. Third, invitation of the ICSID Administrative Council by the vote of two-thirds of these members. About to related IBRD and India relation is presented as the India is a founding member of IBRD. It started the leading to the India in 1949, the first project being the undertaken for the Indian Railways. Since the 1960s, and IBRD is the important source of the long-term funding for India. India is the largest IBRD client of the World Bank. India is a blind country, which means the transformations of the form of the lower middle income and the middle income country. World Bank Group is playing with the 189 member countries. The World Bank Group is a unique global partnership. Five institutions work for the sustainable solution that they reduce the poverty and build share the prosperity in the developing countries. World Bank Group with the country governments, the private sector, civil society organization, regional development bank, think tank, and other international institutions of the issue the ranging from the climate change, conflict, and the food security to education, agriculture, finance, and trade. World Bank Group consists of the five development institutions. Firstly, International Bank for the Reconstruction and Development means IBRD provide the loan, credits and grants. Second, International Development Association IDA provide the low or no interest loan to low income countries. Third, the International Finance Corporation means IFC provide the investment advice and asset management to the companies and governments. Fourth, Multilateral Guaranteed Agency MIGA ensure the leadings and investor against the political risks such a war. Or last, International Center for the Settlement and Investment Dispute means ICSID settled the investment dispute between the investor and countries. All of these afford support of the bank group's twins goal of the ending the extreme poverty by the 2030 and the boosting the sheer prosperity Of these, the poorest 40% of the population in the countries. The history of the World Bank for the better understanding to why is the happened to established. Era of the 1944 to 1945 is explained to the Second World War destroyed the all economies of the many nations. Thus, in the July 1944, right before the war ended, 44 nations come together to discuss the global issue at the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. Later, it became the known as the Bretton Woods Conference. As a result, institutions were established, namely the Monetary and Financial Conference and IBRD. Yet, the World Bank creates the exit. Out of these, the 28 delegates decide to sign the article of the agreement. However, the entire operation of the World Bank began on the July 25 in 1946. Time era is 1946 to 1967 is work. The World Bank is provided France's first loan of the other European nation. However, they become the competition. They focus on the Asian and African countries. Thus, in the 1948, Chile was the first non-European recipient received the funding of the $13.5 million International Development Association means IDA and the International Finance Corporation means IFC come into the power during this period. Time era is 1968 to 1981. During this phase, the bank saw many means 40% countries suffering from the poverty. Therefore, they decide to eradicate the causes of the poverty from its roots. Also, they focus the aim on climate, environment, education, and social issue. As the result, the leading the rate increased by the 12-fold times. Time period is 1982 to 1995 is presenting. During the 1980s, the world was facing many war and crises. Major ones include the oil crisis and the global recession of the 1980s in the United States. Thus, the 1990 MIGA was formed to provide the insurance against the political risks arising in these countries. Also, the rise the Global Environment Facility in 1991 overlooked the environmental factor in this nation. In 1995 to 2012, this era is by the end of the 20th century, IBRD, IDA, IFC, MIGA, and other institutions collectively started working under the name of the World Bank. Besides the providing loan, they also reduce the corruption, poverty, gender discrimination, and other. The structure of the World Bank is know about the World Bank is a member of the Organization of the United Nations. The headquarters of the World Bank is located in Washington, D.C., capital of the United States. The Board of Governors is the functioning of the take the all important decision of the World Bank. This board consists of the one governor and the alternate governor from each member country of the World Bank. The Board of Governors is assisted by the World Bank Group Board of Directors. Recently, Ajay Banga has elected as the president of the World Bank. He assumed the charge as 14th president of the World Bank from the 2023. Ajay Banga became the first Indian American to hold the post of president of this World Bank. He is also the first person born in the South Africa. The organizations publish the World Development Report and the Global Economic Prospectus every year which highlight the global economy. The purpose and the objective are the constantly changing. For the instant in the early year, the bank's investment concentrate in the infrastructure built up like the power, transport, communication and irrigation. During the late of 1916 and the 1970s, the bank went to the financial agriculture project more actively participated in the promotion of the cash crops. However, in the 1980s, agriculture leading the decline drastically. Meanwhile, the World Bank decided to put the emphasis on the alleviation of the poverty in less the development countries in the late 1960s and 1970s. During the Robert McNamara presidency is the time period was 1968 to 1981. The World Bank made the radical changes in the emphasis, the reduction of the rural poverty as well as the urban poverty. Since then, all the presidents reiterate and the communicated of the fight poverty enhances the growth with the sustainability. It's also the introduced the structure adjustment program means the structure adjustment programs SAPS in the developing countries so that not only the macroeconomic stability can be attained but also the structure reform aim at the acceleration growth can be undertaken. It has the shift to the emphasis from these financing and specialization specific project to our non-project link programs. Its work in the developing countries with the focus of the helping the poorest people and the poorest countries. World Bank for all its clients, the bank emphasizes is the need for, firstly, investing in the people, particularly throughout the basic health and education. Second, focusing the social development, governments and the institution of the building as the major elements of the poverty alleviations. Third, strengthens the ability of the governments is to deliver quality of the service with the greater efficiency and transparency. Fourth, protecting the environment. Fifth, supporting and encouraging the private business development and the long-term planning. Throughout the loan, policy, advice, and the technical assistance, the World Bank support to the broadly range of the program aim to the reduce the poverty and improving the living standard in the developing world, including the achievement of these Millennium Development Goal means MDCs, the helping the countries develop the environment and investment job sustainable growth. The World Bank work with the government agencies, not governmental organization means NGOs, and these the private sector formulate the various assistance strategies. Activities of the World Bank is the World Bank offering two basic types of the loan. Investment loans for the support of the economic and social development project and the development policy loan to the support the country's policy and institutional reform. The World Bank grants loan only the developing countries annually is nearly $20 billion a year, usually for the period of 15 to 20 years, for the purpose of the building road, dam, and other physical capital of the contribute to their the economic development. It's the lending rate of bit low and the fixed every 6 months. The bank offer the hard currency loan. It's accept hard currency at the time of the repayment. The bank function as the agent to the international capital market for the countries which are the unable to obtain the sufficient loan of the concessional terms. Its loan provision are the three methods: firstly, project loan; second, sectoral loans; and third, structural adjustment loan. The bank provided $24.7 billion loans in the fiscal year 2008, with Africa receiving 23 per capita of the total, Latin America and the Caribbean 19 per percent. It's Asia and Pacific 18 per annual, South Africa 17, Europe and Central Asia 7 per annual, and Middle East and North Africa is 6%. With the bank support, both the leading and advise the government are the reforming their the economics and strengthening an entire financial and banking system. It's made the remarkable success in the achieve the basic objective or the all last 64 years. It's a concern of the developing countries that deserve the special attention. It has taken the various poverty reduction strategies and poverty focus to leading. Bank programs give the high priority sustainable social and human development, strengthen economic management. Still there the modus operandi of the bank has come in the for sharp criticism. One of the serious charges against the World Bank loan is the structural adjustment lending or the policy-based lending. The essence of the SAL means the structural adjustment lending is a loan disbursed of the exchange of the policy reform like the trade liberalization, privatization, and financial sector reform, tax reform, etc. But the various studies have shown the cells have the failed the miserably establish of the basic for the healthy economic and social development in the debated country. In the most of the developing countries, average income, investment import, etc. has fallen drastically. Unemployment and inflation have become the major problem in this country. Number of the people living below the poverty lines does not show any declining trends in these countries. On these country, global poverty has increased and the activities are the allow to be determination of the environmental, public health and cultural diversity is also said there the bank is the instrument that the several intersect of the USA as well as the Western countries is the functioning lacks of the transparency. This the World Bank has not come up to the expectation of the many developing countries. At the same time, the must not ignore the useful role of the bank has been playing all these years. Most commonly is the discuss on the difference between the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank with the similarities. This is the both the institution are the called the Bretton Woods institution. They have the same membership, no admission to the World Bank without IMF membership. The management of the structure of the bank is largely similar to the data fund. Voting rights is these the institution depend the primary on capital contribution of these the member countries. But there are the some fundamental difference between these the two institutions. Basically, the funds a monetary institution while the bank is a development institution. The main concern of the IMF is the reform the international monetary system is the grants credit to the member countries to the correct temporary balance of payment deficit pledged to the maintain the stable exchange rate. World Bank, on the other hand, was the set up the financial war damages economics of the Europe caused by the World War II. As soon as the Marshall Aid program was rolled out in the meeting the resources need to the Europe, the bank shifted to the focus to the developing countries and this is the come to the know as the World Bank. Being the development institution is the finance long and medium terms of the development. Program means it is the IMF's main concern of the macro element will the bank focus to the micro aspect of the development. Recently, the bank has shifted to the attend the form of the project financing to the economic reform packages. However, both these institutions provide a conditional loan to the structure adjustment loan. The bank took up this leading 1980s throughout the stabilization program with the conditionaries which were the adopt the IMF the 1970s. Today we are observe the overlapping activities of these institutions. The bank is now moving to the macro issues and these fund now the shape the policies for these development ex communist countries to build up the market economy. Today, the variety of the areas both these institutions are the cooperating one introduced into the domain of these the other. Cooperation between these institutions is observed in the supporting governments in the implementing the poverty reduction strategies in the low-income countries, providing the debt relief for the poorest countries, and the assessing the financial sector of the countries. In view of these the developments, it has now become the increasingly different to the identify the difference between these the institutions to the main function of the World Bank is to provide loan to member countries, particularly the understanding the underdevelopment countries for the reconstruction and the development. This loan is generally granted for the completing the long-term projects. The periods of the long term is generally come from the 5 to 20 years. The main point of the loan activities of the World Bank is namely the name of this bank is can the granted of the 20% of is the paid up to capital loan to the member countries from this its fund. Generally loans is granted for the specific project. It grants loan from its own fund. The bank grants loan to the member countries even after the taking the loan from the money markets. The World Bank also the grant the loan private investor of the member countries on this the personal guarantee. It's a collect several tax from these member countries in the returns. On the stages of the providing loans. While the providing the loans member countries, the World Bank goes throughout the different stages which are called the process of the providing loans. Firstly, from the given table is clear that the World Bank take the application from this member country which want to take a loan. Second, the World Bank make the minutes checking of the ability of the repayment of the country's damaging loans. This is the inspection of the solvency ability. The ability of the paying the interest and the ability of using loan are the check. Third, the bank generally provide the loan for the specific project only. Thus, the being the granting the loan specialization of the World Bank to the go the specialization country and inspect the concern the project. Fourth, after being the certified with the project, the World Bank reform the loan, taking the country about the term of the credit which they include the interest rate, repayment plan, etc. The country taking the loan has to repay loan in the gold in the that the very currency in which the loan is taken. Fifth, after the undergoing the throughout these stages, the loan is accepted for the sanction. And last, after the granting the loan, the World Bank also the keep the eye on this use and even the given the proper guidelines of the needed. Next point is presenting management and organization of the World Bank. The organization of the World Bank is also the organization of the International Monetary Fund. They are the board of governors, board of the executive directors, advisory council, loan committees, and other committees. Firstly, board of governors. Every member country appoint the governor in the board of governors. He is a term of the office of the 5 years. But can the changes the before is also the every member country also the appoint the alternative governors who retain the voting rights in this absence of the governor. The alternative governors can take the part of the meeting in this the present of the governors also. The meeting of this the board of governors take the place at the last at least one in the year, which is generally considered with the meeting of the International Monetary Fund. Board of governors appoint the chairperson among is the member who chair the annual meeting. Next point explain about the board of executive directors. There is the board of the executive directors to manage the day-to-day activities of the World Bank. There are the 21 member in this board. At the present, there are 24 member in it. Out of these 6 members are from those countries which have the maximum quota. The remaining members are from the other countries. Every director has a tenure of the 2 years. The chairperson is elected by the board of the executive directors is called the chairman of the World Bank. The chairman of the World Bank is the head of the executive employees. He is perform a general task under the direction of the board executive directors. Next, explain about the Advisory Council. The Advisory Council is organized by the Board of Executive Directors of this World Bank. It has at least 7 members. These members are specialization from these different fields such as banking, commerce, industries, agriculture, labor, etc. The committee is the organization is such a way that has the representation of at least one meeting of this council during the year. Next point is loan committee. The loan committee also the organization by the board of directors of the World Bank. This committee does not the seek security of these the condition of the ship of the country applying the loan with the World Bank. The World Bank granted the loan to the country only for the recommendation of the loan committees. And last, various other committees. Various other committees are the organization by the board of the executive director to the perform different tasks properly. These include development committee, joint audit committee, cost and budget committee, and committee on the director, administrative matters, etc. Next point is explain about the India and the World Bank relation. India is among the founder of member World Bank. The World Bank has an important role in India development since the independence. India got this the first loan from the World Bank in 1949. 2 years after the independence, by that time, India was the first member country from Asia that got the loan from the World Bank. In the initial phase, India was among the five countries which had a good share in the capital of the World Bank. So it had the light of the choosing the executive director, but this later phase of the quota of the other countries suppressed India's quota. The World Bank has given the India instant help of the $300 million after the Gujarat earthquake. Along the long-term loans have been the committee continuously granted in India for the communication, education, irrigation, electric power, population control, poverty alleviation, rural development, infrastructure development, etc. is the promote to the speed of the India's development. India has received the maximum loan for this the development of railway. The first loan received this the project in 1949 was worth $34 million. Again, the agriculture development is the extra loan for the $10 million was received that year in 1950s and 1952. Total loan of $22 million was received for the two separate projects. Similarly, the World Bank has contributed to India's development from this time to time and given the financial assistance. By the June 1975, India received the 44 loans, adding up the $1,536.6 million, with the interest rate from the 3.5% to 8.9% had to paid. An Indian assistant means help club was set up the 1558 to provide the economic assistance to the second and third 5-year plan, which they are the 10 countries of the International Development Federation along with the World Bank. The club meeting had a positive attitude, the granting the assistance of the India. Later on this the club was renamed as the Indian Development Forum. By the financial year ending June 2005, the World Bank has granted to the loan of $22.3 billion for the 279 projects in different countries, out of which the only $2.89 million was given to India. The World Bank granted the loan of the India for the Power Grid Corporation of India. The loan amount of the 40 crore dollar in the January 2006. Similarly, the loan of the $4.9 billion has been the provide for the year 2009 to 2010. Thus, the World Bank has played the important role to development of the India. Due to the good repayment reputation of this good possibility of the getting the cooperation from the World Bank in future as well. Although the World Bank has been the successful in fulfilling the objectives, but the critics have the criticized on the various grounds. Firstly, high rate of the interest and commissions. The critics held that the World Bank, as a non-profit earning institution, dispute this they take the interest on the high rate from the member countries. Is the charges 7.6% interest on the loan to the 1 to 2% service tax, which has a very high for the under developing countries. Second, insufficient financial assistance. This has been the continuously charges against the World Bank, that is the financial resources are not sufficient to fulfill the needs of the members countries, due to the which the bank unable to the given the sufficient help to the developing countries. But now there is no ground for these criticisms, because the bank has increased the capital limit by the increasing the quota of the member countries. Next critics is about the discrimination of the behavior. The critics say that the World Bank is discriminate against the countries of the Asia and Africa. The bank is under the heavy influence of these some development countries like the America and Britain. About 43% of this total voting strength of this World Bank lies with the big five and development countries of this world due to the which these countries have the high political influence over the bank. Next critics is about the emphasis on the repayment capability and capacity. It is also the part of the critics against the World Bank that is the check they very strictly and the repayment ability of this concerned country before the granting the loans. Actually, is not a modern trend of this World Bank. It is unscientific for the any developing countries. This capacity of the repayment of these development countries is automatically reduced after the taking the loans. This is a bank should look into the that way project of which the loan is being the granted the productive or not. The World Bank definitely keep us eye on this use of the loan. Next point is explain the loan for the specific project only. These critics held that the World Bank is the granted loan only the specific project, which the underdeveloping countries need loan more for this general development. Point is explain about the emphasis on the repayment in the foreign money. It has also been the charge against the World Bank that is the make it is the compulsory to the repay its the loan is the gold or the currency of that the countries only, in which that the loan has been the taken. It is rather the strict the condition for the developing countries. And the last critic is explained about the delay in the providing loan. The critics held that the process of the granting loan by the World Bank is very complicated due to the which may the delay in the made in the sanction loans. The sometimes the due to the delay, the properly utility of this the project is spoiled. But it can the say did the, again these critics that the World Bank is not a bank for the any particular country and representing so many countries at the time is not an easy task. Dispute this criticism is can be said the World Bank is an extremely useful organization. In this video, we are discuss all concepts related to World Bank. I hope this session helped to increase your knowledge and solve your many doubts. Keep watching Oceanic Economics for the more related concept on this channel. Thank you.